Hello students and staff. On behalf of the School District of Palm Beach County, it is my privilege to formally acknowledge International Holocaust Day of Remembrance. By participating in this annual commemoration, our school district is paying tribute to the memory of the victims of the Holocaust. It is also reaffirming our commitment to educating our students in an effort to enlighten young minds while also countering anti-Semitism, racism, and other forms of intolerance. Nazi Germany and its collaborators systematically murdered approximately 6 million Jews across German-occupied Europe. That's about 2/3 of Europe's Jewish population. Commemorations such as this have been occurring since 2005, when the United Nations and its members declared January 27th International Holocaust Remembrance Day. Students, by learning about this watershed event in the history of humanity, you will gain a deeper understanding of the ramifications of prejudice, intolerance, and stereotyping. I hope you will think about what it means to be a responsible and respectful person, and that you encourage acceptance of diversity in our society. Together, through education, we can combat anti-Semitism, discrimination, and bigotry. The most poignant lessons come from the survivors themselves. I would like to thank the Holocaust survivors who are with us today and throughout the school year, sharing their personal stories with our students. Last year alone, we had the privilege of having a Holocaust survivor speak virtually at every high school and many elementary and middle schools in our district. Your strength is an inspiration, your commitment to educating future generations is a priceless investment, and you are appreciated for your heartfelt work within our school district and beyond as your stories are shared. Our district's television network has been recording the stories of local survivors as an invaluable educational tool and as a permanent and significant first-hand account of the atrocities of the Holocaust. You have my word that these stories will continually be shared. On behalf of the school district and school board, I extend my gratitude to our students, teachers, and administrators for your participation today.
Thank you, Superintendent Burke, for your words today and for your unwavering support of Holocaust studies. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today on International Holocaust Remembrance Day. I'm Kim Coombs. I have the privilege of being the Holocaust Studies Program Planner for the District of Palm Beach County. Today is the day to remember the importance of rejecting messages of hate. That's why we're here today, to remember and to reflect. 77 years ago today, over 7,000 prisoners, including 700 children at Auschwitz, were liberated by the soldiers of the Soviet Army, ending 1,689 days of murder, pain, and suffering. For the world, Auschwitz is a painful reminder of how humanity can be led by the ideologies of hatred. The United Nations designated January 27th, the anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau, as International Holocaust Remembrance Day. On this annual day of commemoration, the United Nations urges everyone to honor the 6 million Jewish victims of the Holocaust and millions of other victims of Nazism, and to develop educational programs to help prevent future genocides. Through our remembrance ceremony today, leaders and students from our district will join Holocaust survivors in conveying the urgent responsibility we all share to protect the lessons and legacy of this history, and to defend the truth, now more than ever. I would first like to introduce students from Mrs. Carter's third period Holocaust Studies class at Boca Raton Community High School, as they teach us a little bit about this history and read poetry that they selected for today's commemoration.
Hello. Today is the 77th commemoration of the liberation of Auschwitz by the Soviet Army. We, the students of Miss Carter's class at Boca Raton High School, remember. This is the official definition of the Holocaust. The Holocaust was a systematic, state-sponsored persecution and murder of 6 million Jews by the Nazi Germany regime and its allies and collaborators. The United States Holocaust Memorial Museum defines the years of the Holocaust as 1933 to 1945. The Holocaust era began in January 1933 when Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party came to power in Germany. It ended in May 1945 when the Allied powers defeated Nazi Germany in World War II. The Holocaust is sometimes referred to as the Shoah, the Hebrew word for catastrophe.
Family Album by Amos Newfield. My father stands in a picture with his parents, brothers, and sisters. The gas and sealed cattle cars are still 2 years away. They smile, not knowing this is the last time they will be gathered happily together. That nothing guards their world, that skies will be all that remains. Their eyes rest peacefully on one another and on the camera, while tomorrow winds its arms and twists tighter around their necks. Yes, it is still too early to see the black boots coming. Smoke gloats carelessly from a cigarette, and children go to a summer camp. We see them, not yet lost, standing on the precipice of wind and fire, their image of vanished innocence captured in our memory engraved. Still they stand, unsuspecting, composed, like any other happy family, while their black and white world rushed toward is already on their final page.
Never Shall I Forget by Eli Wiesel. Never shall I forget that night, the first night in the camp that turned my life into one long night 7 times sealed. Never shall I forget that smoke. Never shall I forget the small faces of children whose bodies I saw transformed into smoke under a silent sky. Never shall I forget those flames that consumed my faith forever. Never shall I forget the nocturnal silence that deprived me for all eternity of the desire to live. Never shall I forget the moments that murdered my God and my soul and turned my dreams to ashes. Never shall I forget those things, even were I condemned to live, as long as God himself never.
This ground has kept its secret. As a sheet covers a corpse, so time and grass have conspired to mask the crimes committed here. The earthen mouth that devoured the dead is now green blanketed with daisy patches. Yet we know. We know from the rusting barbed wire fences, the squalid barracks, the brick wall chipped with bullet holes, the showers, the ovens, a mountain of shoes, men's shoes, women's shoes, children's shoes, work shoes, dress shoes, black, brown, white, worn and new. Outside, the flowers and sweetened breeze will lie well wet before. Our guide, older than his years, when bidding us goodbye, his eyes welled up with tears, and through his quivering lips he said, "No more of this, no more."
Thank you, Mrs. Carter and students from Boca Raton High School. This year, we have again partnered with Morse Life Next Generations to bring the International Butterfly Project to 83 schools in the district, including over 9,000 students. The Butterfly Project honors and remembers the 1.5 million children that were exterminated in the Holocaust. This project fosters education and awareness of the dangers of hate. We hope to teach you the importance of standing up against injustice and create a more compassionate and peaceful world. Through the interactive workshops, students, you will learn about children in Terezin concentration camp and study a poem called I Never Saw Another Butterfly. Thank you to the teachers and students at Grassy Waters Elementary School and Park Vista Community High School for kicking off the project with us. And thank you to Morse Life Next Generations for making this project possible.
Next Generations at Morse Life has partnered with the Palm Beach County School District to paint butterflies with their students 5th grade through 12th grade. Each butterfly represents a child who was murdered during the Holocaust. The Morse Life and Next Generations partnership with the Palm Beach County School District hopes to really have students understand how easily it is to hate and to mitigate hate and bigotry. Each tile that is painted with a butterfly represents 1.5 million children who were murdered during the Holocaust. And so each of these tiles comes with a bio and a picture of a child who was murdered during the Holocaust.
What did you learn about this child that you're creating a butterfly for? What's
So
his name?
his name was Solomon Blyer, and he was born in 1937, and he was in the Czechoslovakia, that's where he lived. And around that time he was moved into the concentration camps, and unfortunately 7 years later, he passed away. I mean, obviously I'll never know what that kid went through, but it hurts to know that someone like a little bit younger than me had to go through such horrible events.
Menahem Davidovitz, he was born in 1937, and he died when he was only 7 years old, which is really not that much younger than me. It's like half my age. He was very young, and he had a whole life ahead of him that was taken from him.
It's important because the Holocaust needs to be kind of reflected on. It can't just be something that's forgotten.
Everybody should be treated the same way, not just for their difference or their age or how they look.
There are 9,000 students in the Palm Beach County School District that are going to be participating in the Tile Butterfly Project this year. And so by doing these tiles and learning the lessons of the Holocaust, we mitigate hate and bigotry.
You learned about the word upstander.
Yeah.
Do you know what it means to be an upstander?
An upstander means to stand up to people that are being kind of like a bully. Stand up to the bully with love, not hatred.
What would you say to people that maybe stand by and watch as somebody gets bullied or somebody is treated with hate?
I would basically teach them what being an upstander means. And that if you sit by and watch, you're about as bad as anybody can get.
Why is the Butterfly Project an important project, and why are you glad to be participating?
I'm happy to be participating in this project because of all the brave lives that have been lost during the Holocaust, and now we can remember them today.
As part of the project, you received a card with a biography of a child that was murdered during the Holocaust, but also with a quote on the back. Would you be comfortable reading that quote for us?
I found that there is always some beauty left in nature. Sunshine, freedom, and yourself. They can all help you, by Anne Frank.
I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear, by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Knowing what's right doesn't mean much unless you do what's right, by President Theodore Roosevelt.
One person can make a difference and everyone can try, by President John F. Kennedy.
Why do you think it's important for other kids to learn about the Holocaust?
Well, I think it matters that it doesn't happen again, so that none of those kids grow out to be a second Hitler, or they don't do the same to a different kind of religion.
We hear from Holocaust survivors every day. Please, we need to remember, let our lives mean something. We should make sure that this never happens again. And so by telling stories about the Holocaust, and particularly to young students, we're able to try and change the course of history in terms of them understanding the need to mitigate hate and bigotry.
Thank you all for joining us as we're here, and I'm Brian Knowles, the manager of the Office of African American, Latino, Holocaust, and Gender Studies for the School District of Palm Beach County. So we're here to commemorate International Holocaust Remembrance Day. You know, as we remember all of the victims who suffered and died under this horrible atrocity, one of the worst events in all of human history. And we want to remember those victims and remember all those who perished, but let's kind of take the lessons of what happened. What happened when hatred, bigotry, and prejudice goes unchecked within our society, and just the destructive nature of humanity, when we don't have a climate of understanding, mutual respect, and tolerance for each other. So as we look at this lesson and we look at the things that happened during this time period in human history, let's make ourselves better and create a better society moving forward for our children. Right, so we have a group of students that come from one of the greatest schools, and I have a slight bias there in Palm Beach County, Riviera Beach Prep, who put together a video around just this particular event that we're here to commemorate. These are some students from Riviera Beach Preparatory and Achievement Academy. The students are William Cedino, Jonathan Del Rio, DeMarcus Pleasant, Asia Ziegler, and also Tayana Reese. And they're here to kind of show you some of the things that they've done to commemorate this day. Thank you.
January 27, 1945, The Soviet Army liberated the extermination camp Auschwitz-Birkenau. This year marks 77th anniversary.
Even though the gas chamber were destroyed, what were prisoners at this largest camp repeating? 2 words, never again.
Today, we connect our historical knowledge with our moral choices.
Today, we tribute to the memory of the victims of the Holocaust and millions of other victims of Nazism.
Today we commit to counter anti-Semitism, racism, and other forms of intolerance that may lead to violence.
Today, on this annual day of commemoration, we reject any denial of the Holocaust as a historical event.
We remember the train arriving to Birkenau in the dead of night. Prisoners were greeted by bright lights, soldiers, SS men, dogs, whips, shouting, screaming, and confusion.
We remember we do not be indifferent when any minority is discriminated against.
We remember Voices from Auschwitz as our responsibility to protect the lessons and legacy of Holocaust history.
We remember.
Thank you to the students of Riviera Beach Prep. Yes, we remember. We're fortunate to have Holocaust survivor Frida Jaffe here today. Frida is the founder of Child Survivors, Hidden Children of the Holocaust of Palm Beach County. Throughout the years, she has spoken to many students throughout the district. Frida was one of the very few Jewish children under the age of 10 to have survived the ghetto, Ravensbrück, and Bergen-Belsen death camps. Frida was born in Poland. She is the sole survivor of her large, closely knit family. At the age of 7, Frida was liberated from Bergen-Belsen extermination camp, and she was all alone. Today, Frida is going to share an essay that she wrote titled Zachor, Remember, Gedenk.
I would like to introduce myself, and all of you are going to know me as Frida, but actually the rest of the world prior to this famous time and place is Fredzia. Fredzia is my Polish name. I'm going to share an essay in light of International Holocaust Remembrance Day, and I call it Zachor, which is a Hebrew word for remember. And in Yiddish, usually when I present this, it's Zachor, Gedenk, remember. Gedenk is actually a Germanic term, but it's Yiddish for remember. And this is what this program is all about, and that is remembering. I don't think that any of us or any of you can doubt that remembering is embedded in my entire being, not just my life. So I'm going to tell you that it's very difficult for me to realize that I've been speaking and writing about my so-called childhood. This is a childhood that I define by the Holocaust, the Shoah, it's called that. And it's been for over 45 years that I've been doing that. But what's totally surreal to me is the realization that I am the last generation, one of the very few remaining living witnesses of the Jewish Holocaust, when Jewish children were the first to be eradicated from Europe's Jewish life. And soon, who knows how soon, we too will be gone, out of our lives, out of our memories, then we'll just be a footnote, hopefully, in history books. And so in light of all of that, I am labeled a survivor. I don't own or relate to that term. I had absolutely nothing to do with my survival. I only know that I survived death. And that big realization came to me many, many years later. All of this, my survival, liberation, whatever we want to call it, happened. I was 7 years old, all alone. The Holocaust will remain a part of my life for as long as I live. It lives within my body, my mind, my soul. The nightmares absolutely refuse to go away. The images and the memories have a permanent home inside of me. And believe it or not, I honor and even cherish these images and memories because they define my survival. They are me. That's who I am. And because of this definition of survival, I have to speak. I must write in order to honor, to memorialize the lives of my entire family. They, the memories, the thoughts, the feelings, they are me. And because of this, I must speak and I must write in order to honor, to memorialize that entire family that I never knew, that I never had a part of. If I don't do this, who will? And so I do not know how I survived. I do not know why I survived as a little girl. So why me? Why not anyone else in my immediate family without a childhood that was stolen from me, that could never, ever be restored? Because as a child of the Holocaust, I was never given the opportunity, the pleasure, the pain, anything that has to do with childhood. I never had the opportunity to be a child. So I never had the luxury of knowing what having a family, parents, grandparents, any relatives would be like. So how can I possibly explain the unexplainable? I will never know that answer. Perhaps there really is no answer. Only my questions. Forever and always, my questions. International Holocaust Day is all about remembrance. The lighting of the 6 candles, which recalls our 6 million brothers and sisters. We honor, we have to, we need to. We honor the memories of loved ones. We reflect, we mourn. And today, once again, we're gathered here virtually this time, but united in memory. Today, I must also acknowledge that the same anti-Semitism and evil keeps rearing its ugly face, and that prejudice seems to be so alive and so well, even it is flourishing. And so we as human beings must continue to rise up and fight this obscenity, this evil, this garbage, over and over and over again. And so yes, I was one of the very few, very young children who survived Nazi inhumanity. So for me, this day of remembrance is the devastating awareness and duty, my duty, other duty, to remember the children. The 1.5 million Jewish children who were systematically and diabolically murdered. Why? Only because we are Jews. I only can remember. But why continue to remember? I don't know, and I probably never will, but I do know this. For me, now and forever, this day remains a sacred mission of remembrance for the sake of humanity, if humanity is to survive. And for me, for the rest of my life, I shall remember the children. Please take a moment of reflection with me before the candle lighting ceremony with Cantor, Garrett, and 5 of our local Holocaust survivors, many of which are members of the Child Survivors of Palm Beach County, an organization that I founded in 1991. We've come a long way from that. Dora Schwartz, Menachem Warshawski, Samuel Ron, Norman Frujman, Mary Eckstein, and myself. You know me as Frida Jaffe. You'll always remember me as Freja Geltzman.
voice is powerful. My voice can change the world. I have a voice. My voice is powerful. My voice can change the world. Change the world. I will give of myself. I will reach out my hand. I will use this heart I've been given to take a stand. I have a voice. My voice is powerful. My voice can change the world. I have a voice. My voice is powerful. My voice can change the world. Change the world. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asanu b'tzelem Elohim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asanu b'tzelem Elohim. I have a voice. My voice is powerful. My voice can change the world. I have a voice. My voice is powerful. My voice can change the world. Change the world. I will fight for the truth. I'll stand up for what's right. I will use this strength I've been given and be alive. My voice is powerful. My voice can change the world. I have a voice. My voice is powerful. My voice can change the world. Change the world. Change the world.
From the bottom of our hearts, we thank Frida Jaffe and all of our local Holocaust survivors for all you have done and all you continue to do to educate the students of Palm Beach County. Thank you, Cantor Carol Garrett. Cantor Carol is an ordained cantor and also a former Palm Beach County school teacher. And thanks to all of you for joining us live today as we commemorate the beginning and the end of the Holocaust. As Auschwitz was liberated, more camps were discovered and liberated all over Europe, which brought the darkest period of human history to an end. On this day, and on all days, in our Palm Beach County community, we must do more than remember. We must commit that never again is more than just empty words. As individuals, we ask you students to take a stand against indifference. As students, you're learning to stand up against ignorance and anti-Semitism. We must continually work towards this as a community of people who cherish the dignity of every single human being. We take this time to learn the lessons of the past so that humanity may never repeat such atrocities in the future. We've learned from our survivors about the most unparalleled crime against humanity, and that the responsibility is on me, the responsibility is on you to speak out against injustice. It's our job to be upstanders against all forms of hatred, discrimination, intolerance towards our fellow human beings. In Palm Beach County, we not only remember, we learn to take action and to use our voices for the voiceless. Thank you for remembering with us today.